Okay, welcome to another edition of Fantasy Dream. I'm so glad you're here, and just want to pause here and talk a little about I'm going to make it real brief about the coronavirus, COVID-19 that is going around. Everybody's down and out because a lot of people have to be sequestered and they're self-quarantining in their homes. And so in this edition of Fantasy Dream Moms, we're going to try to make this extra special for you. It's going to be a longer, more bonus-packed edition. And today we're going to look at 8, I think that's a record, 8 fantasy dream homes. And it's in one of my favorite cities in the United States, and that is Chicago, Illinois. So let's get on our magic carpet ride and head in. And I think I'm going to try to convince you. A lot of people say, whether you're coming from England or Australia or New Zealand or, Europe in general, the places you want to see are New York or LA. And I will tell you, New York, I would definitely recommend. Not so much LA. I mean, I lived in Southern California a long time. I've been to LA many, many times. Really not a lot to do, and everything's so spread out, and traffic is absolutely horrendous in LA. Chicago, traffic's bad in Chicago, but it's bad in a lot of cities. But LA is just a totally different animal. It is, you can spend 2-3 hours and you can only go 5 miles on the freeway, and that's very common to do something like that. So let's talk a little bit about Chicago. So Chicago is a big metro area. The city has a population of about 2.7 million people, but that is not the metro area. That is the actual city of Chicago. It's the it is the third largest city in the United States, New York being first, LA being second, and Chicago being third. And it's bordered practically by Indiana right here, and this is Illinois, okay? And we're going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see. And all these yellow, these are the major expressways going into Chicago, and I'm going to touch a little bit more on that in a second. There is so much to do and see in Chicago. The city has tremendous character, and the people are, I can't describe them. There's some of the, I love Chicagoans, so hopefully I'm going to convince you, if you're come to the United States, make Chicago a city worth seeing. Not everything's great. I can't stand O'Hare Airport. It's the second busiest airport in the world, I think, next to Atlanta. O'Hare is a nightmare. They still don't have walkways through lots of O'Hare, and I could go on and on what I can't stand about O'Hare, but let's talk about the good things. We're going to try to keep our spirits up here. I said 2.7 million. The metro population, you'll see right here, is 9.5 million. That's because when you get in and you look at how far this stretches out, it starts like around Gary, Indiana down here. This is Indiana. And this is Illinois, all this right up here. And this is Wisconsin. Let's see, am I right? No, Wisconsin's up here. This is Wisconsin, everything up north. And that's, I think, Waukegan. Yeah, so this is still Illinois. But this is all continuous city. Everywhere you see, it's just all one massive city. Now, there's the skyline, absolutely gorgeous. That's the John Hancock building, one of the most easily recognizable buildings in the world. And it's not the tallest building in the city. It's the second tallest building. Climate. You're going to get some hot temperatures in Chicago. It's going to hit the mid-90s through the summer months, May, June, July, August. And definitely going to have some seriously cold winters. Chicago has several nicknames. One of the nicknames is the Windy City. And when it gets windy in the winter, believe me, that is uncomfortable because it gets plenty cold. Another thing to think about Chicago is all the movies that were filmed in Chicago. There's so many movies you've probably seen, like Home Alone and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Blues Brothers. And just to give you an idea, we're going to scroll through this list. These are all movies, a lot of major Hollywood movies that were shot in Chicago, on and on and on. Hundreds of movies were shot in Chicago. One of the unique things about Chicago is the nicknames for all the expressways. This is a very simple map of the major expressways that are coming into Chicago. And it's like a different language. So there's the Kennedy Expressway, the Dan Ryan, or sometimes they just call it the Dan, the Edens. The Eisenhower, or Eisenhower was named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower. His nickname was Ike, and so a lot of times they refer to this freeway as the Ike. And then you have the Stevenson, the Bishop Ford, Chicago Skyway. When you listen to a lot of Chicago radio stations, you're going to hear them. They're talking, 100 miles an hour, and they're saying traffic on the Dan is backed up for, blah, 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 blah. So, if you're going to spend a lot of time in Chicago, it's a good idea to get to know these expressways. Things to do in Chicago. Well, this is TripAdvisor.com. I'm going to try to put these in the show notes. One is the Art Institute of Chicago, the Museum of Science and Industry. I definitely agree with these. There is Cloudgate, which is also, they call it the Bean. It's in Millennial Park, so it's one and the same. I don't know why they separate these two. They're in the same area. There's Wrigley Field, the Magnificent Mile. I'll talk a little bit about more of that later on. Chicago Riverwalk. So there's tons to do and see. One of the things I thought they were missing was Buckingham Fountain. And Buckingham Fountain is definitely a Chicago landmark, and it's in the center of Grant Park, and I'll show you that in a minute. It's one of the largest fountains in the world. Built in Rococo wedding cake style, inspired by the Latona Fountain at the Palace of Versailles, is meant to allegorically represent Lake Michigan. And as you know, Chicago sits on Lake Michigan. And it's operated from April to October. And I think every hour on the hour, the fountain has a water show that lasts about 10 or 15 minutes. And this thing shoots up about 150 feet in the air. Really nice on the hot summer days. If you stand right down here, you get that nice spray because, believe me, it can get really hot in Chicago. It's a huge fountain. You walk all the way around it. Lots of tourists taking pictures. It's really worth seeing. And here's a shot of the nighttime. It's an absolutely beautiful, that's a layered wedding cake style fountain that you see. So definitely will recommend that you go to Buckingham Fountain. Hotels to stay at. I would say what Google's recommending here, what I did was I upped the price to $220 above. Come on, if we can afford fantasy dream homes, we can stay in the fantasy hotels too, can't we? The Four Seasons Hotel in Chicago. Four Seasons pretty much anywhere. They're in London, they're in San Francisco, and they're in Hawaii. They are outstanding hotels. You cannot go wrong by staying in a Four Seasons. The Langham, the Ritz-Carlton, another well-known name for well-known quality hotels, the Waldorf Astoria. So all of these hotels are located, there's what's referred to as the Magnificent Mile. And if I'm staying in a hotel in Chicago, I probably want to be on the Magnificent Mile. So what is the Magnificent Mile? They have some of the finest hotels, some of the finest restaurants, some of the finest shopping, specifically shopping, in the world is located on the Magnificent Mile. And why do they call it the Magnificent Mile? Well, it's a mile long, and it starts at the Chicago River on Michigan Avenue and goes straight up like this. And goes right up there. So that's where I would be staying in a hotel. We're going to move right along here. Chicago has some of the finest restaurants in the world. It has magnificent restaurants. And I recommend going to chicagomag.com. That's Chicago Magazine. Every year they spend a lot of time rating the restaurants, and you can choose by price or anything, but let's look at 4 stars. Come on, we've got a lot of money to spend. Let's see who the 4-star restaurants are. Okay, so you have the Alanea, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, the Everest, the Aurea, Schwa. Here's one I've always wanted to go to. If I had a special lady to take with me, and it's Everest. And these are all pictures of Everest. And if there's ever a romantic restaurant, look at the views that you get in Everest. And just gonna zoom in on that. Isn't that amazing? That is your romantic evening. So highly recommend looking into Chicago restaurants on Chicago Mag. So the real estate site we're going to be looking at is Berkshire Hathaway. And Berkshire Hathaway, in case you don't know, located in Omaha, Nebraska, chaired by Warren Buffett, the richest or second richest or third richest man in the world, depending on what time of the year it is. He always seems to climb back on top of the list. This is one of his companies. They're the real estate arm of Berkshire Hathaway, and they typically deal in high-end properties. So speaking of high-end properties, let's take a look at our first house. And we're going to do something different here on Fantasy Dream Homes today. I'm going to share the process with you. So right now we're going to use Forex, and this is how I do my currency conversions on every single home that I have to price these out. I have to put in the dollar amount here. They're all typically in US dollars. And then these are the conversions to euros, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, the British pound, the Swiss franc, and the Canadian dollar. So right now, for this particular first home, it's going for $5,999,000. So we'll come in here, $5,999,000, and we do the conversion. So there's your conversions to euros, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, British pound, Swiss franc, and the Canadian dollar. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for the price of this home. And we're going to scroll down here. It's 6 full baths, 2 half bathrooms. It's 7,400 square feet. And see, these are all things I put on the cards, but I'm trying to save some time here so we can have a longer video. It is on 0.07 acres of land. It was built in 2019. So let's take a look at this first Fantasy Dream Home. Okay, so this next home is going for 6.49 million, and here are the conversions for your other currencies. We would see that this home has 5 bedrooms, 6 full bathrooms, 2 half bathrooms, 0.06 acres of land, built in 1886. It's one of Chicago's older residences, so let's check out this next fantasy dream home. Okay, so our next home is going for a little over almost 8.9 million. Here's your conversion chart right here, and we see that this one is 3 bedrooms, 3 full baths, 3 half baths. It's about almost 9,700 square feet, built in 1913. Let's check out this next fantasy dream home.
So I'd like to take a minute and just show you something I think you would really be interested in. If you like the YouTube channel Fantasy Dream Homes, I think you're really going to like the Pinterest page of ours, Fantasy Dream Homes, by the same name. You can find it here, right up here. Here's the address, the URL address, pinterest.com/Fantasy Dream Homes. And if you scroll down here and we go to our boards page, you will see boards that if you like looking at luxury homes, you're going to love this Pinterest page. We have everything from magnificent master bedrooms to ultimate master bathrooms, luxury dressing rooms, kitchen ideas for luxury homes, butler's pantry, cozy nooks and alcoves, reading rooms, grand entryways, fantastic fireplaces. We also look at luxury appliances, and we look at plumbing fixtures, and we look at lighting, and we look at staircases, swimming pools, and flooring, furniture, anything you would see in a luxury home. This is the place to go. And if you want, like, say for example, you click into architectural styles of homes, okay, you actually can see all the different, we've separated all the major categories of homes: log cabins, contemporary style, craftsman, Queen Anne, Greek Revival, Tudor, Victorian. So there's something for almost everybody who's interested in home architecture or luxury homes. So we invite you to please visit our Pinterest page, and we'd like you to follow us on Pinterest. And we hope to see you on our Pinterest page. Thanks a lot. All right, so this next home is going for what appears to be almost $10 million. And here is our currency conversion for that. And we're going to scroll down before we get into the dimensions and all that good stuff. I found some interesting things. We always try to give credit to architects. When the real estate people are kind enough to share that information, we like to pass it on to you, because we highly recommend designing homes with home designers, with architects, and all kinds of professionals. Stick with the pros, you can't go wrong. So this particular home was designed by architect George Mayer in 1894. So I looked him up, and he was an American architect during the first quarter of the 20th century. He was considered part of the Prairie School style. It was known for blending traditional architecture with arts and crafts style. And I think Prairie School style is worth talking about. So what is Prairie School style? So Prairie School is a late 19th and early 20th century architectural style, most common in the Midwestern United States. The style is usually marked by horizontal lines, flat or hipped roofs with broad overhang eaves, windows grouped in horizontal bands, integration with the landscape, solid construction, craftsmanship, and discipline in the use of ornament. Horizontal lines were thought to evoke and relate to the wide, flat, treeless expanses of America's native prairie landscape. And probably this is your classic example. The architect who's most well known with prairie architecture is Frank Lloyd Wright, and he's designed a bunch of homes in Chicago and Wisconsin, and he's got homes all over America. Not just homes, he did buildings too. You will find his work. I'm a particular fan of his, and I think the show we did in Kansas City featured a Frank Lloyd Wright that was for sale, so you can check that out. Interestingly, and I did not know this, the Prairie School developed in symphony with the ideals and design aesthetics of arts and crafts movement begun in the late 19th century in England by John Ruskin, William Morris, and others. So let's get back to our home. So now we know a little about the architect George Mayer and the style of work that he did.
let's focus a little bit more on this home. It's 6 bedrooms, 6 full baths, 2 half baths, 9,700 square feet. It was built in 1894. So let's check out this next fantasy dream home. All right, so our next home here on North State Parkway is going for $10.5 million. Here are your currency conversions. And let's go back to our home. We're going to scroll down and we're going to see that this one has 5 bedrooms, 5 full baths, 4 half baths, 9,000 square feet, sitting on a 0.07 acre lot, built in 1914. Let's check out this next fantasy dream home. Okay, so our next fantasy dream home is going for $13.5 million. Here are the latest up-to-date conversions for this home. So this home, it is 6 bedrooms, 6 full bathrooms, 2 half baths, 8,800 square feet, and it was built more recently in the year 2007. So let's check out this next fantasy dream home. So our second to the last fantasy dream home today is going for 19.5 million. Here are your currency conversions as of about 35 seconds ago. And we're going to go right back to our house. There are many things that we want to talk about in the description. And one, they tell you it was built, this particular house was built for attorney John H. Thompson, based on one of Cobb and Frost's last designs. And so I'm thinking they have to be architects, so I looked it up, and sure enough, Cobb and Frost was an American architectural firm. Cobb and Frost was founded in Chicago, Illinois by Henry Ives Cobb and Charles Summer Frost. Now we know who the architects for this house were, and then we're going to go back to the description, read a little bit more, because there's more interesting information. It's located on Dearborn Street, which is a major street in Chicago. And then they talk about it's located in Chicago's Gold Coast. Well, where is the Gold Coast? Let's take a look and see. And the Gold Coast is a historic district in Chicago, Illinois, part of Chicago's near North Side community. It's roughly bounded by North Avenue, Lakeshore Drive, Oak Street, and Clark Street. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so let's take a look and see. So this is a map highlighting the Chicago's what's referred to as the near North Side. And the Gold Coast area specifically is bordered by Clark Street and Oak Street and Lakeshore Drive. They call it that because it runs along Lakeshore, along Lake Michigan, and North Avenue, which I think becomes North Boulevard, which eventually becomes North Avenue. So there's your boundary. It's basically this area right in here. What is significant about the Gold Coast? It is going to have very old and very well-to-do homes. Lots of restaurants, with the tables out on the sidewalks. Lots of boutiques and shops, some upscale hotels. So that's the Gold Coast area. And there's one more thing in the description that I thought was worth talking about, and I had not heard of Santos mahogany hardwood floors. What the heck were those? I did not know. So I looked it up. Santos mahogany is an exquisite exotic hardwood floor that is very popular in the flooring industry today. Santos mahogany has light orange tones and dark reddish tones that gives any room a rich and unique decor. So that's some examples. There are some examples of Santos mahogany flooring. I will put that in the show notes for you. So anyway, let's go back to the description. Let's go a little bit further. And we see that there are 6 full baths, 1 half bath, 6 bedrooms, by the way, 13,400 square feet, sitting on a 0.13 acre lot. This one was built in 1888. So let's check out this next fantasy dream home. Okay, so our eighth and final fantasy dream home of today is going for $45 million. Here are your latest and greatest up-to-date currency conversions. So check out your country and you can see how much you would be paying in your own currency. So let's get back to the description for this home. This particular home is 6 bedrooms, 7 full baths, 4 half bathrooms, 25,000 square feet, built in the year 2010. Without any hesitation, let's check out this final fantasy dream home of the day. Okay, so that about wraps it up for another edition of Fantasy Dream Homes, and I hope you enjoyed those homes. Go into the comments section and tell us what you liked, what you didn't like about the homes. We want to know. I hope I convinced you that Chicago is a city worth seeing. I want to zoom in here just a little bit. I've only covered, there's so much to see and do here in Chicago. So, for example, you can go see a Chicago Bears football game. You can come over here to the Shed Aquarium. They have tons of fish on display that you can look at, tons of fish tanks and stuff. This is the Field Museum of Natural History. Definitely worth it if you have the time. This is Buckingham Fountain that we talked about here earlier. This is all Grant Park right here. This is the Millennium Park right here, and that's where the Bean is. You keep going up north here. And this is the Chicago River right here. This is North Michigan Avenue. Michigan Avenue is also what's known as the Miracle Mile from the Chicago River on north right up to here. Tons of great hotels and great shopping. You can just get out and walk. It's really worth it. Boy, if you can come at Christmas time, this is so beautiful the way they decorate for Christmas along Michigan Avenue. Great hotels, great restaurants. Here you have Navy Pier, excellent shopping. You can walk all along this Navy Pier. It's really fun to go there. You know, so, and let's see, another one, the John Hancock, if I zoom in closer here, you can see there it is right there. It's standing up. It has the two towers on top. And like I said earlier, it's not the tallest building in Chicago. The tallest building is the Willis Tower, which used to be called the Sears Tower. And it's downtown somewhere on the south side of the Chicago River, down in here. I believe it's, let's see, I'm looking for the shadow because it's an enormous building. I can't find it, unfortunately, but yeah, you can just Google the Willis Tower. And, you know, another thing that's worth doing is taking an architectural tour. And they have a boat that runs through that tells you about, you can take a river tour of all the architecture, or they have walking tours, and I think they have bus tours. Chicago's loaded with absolutely magnificent architecture in the building. So really worth seeing Chicago. So I hope you take the time. If you're coming to the United States, if you live in the United States and you've never been to Chicago, plan it for the spring or early summer. You know, I try to avoid the hot, July, but I try to hit it in May and early June. Sure, Chicago will be really worth seeing. So hope you take the time. And that about wraps it up for Fantasy Dream Homes. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. And, subscribe to become a member of our YouTube community, for crying out loud. The more people we get involved with Fantasy Dream Homes, the greater we can make it be. So until the next time, folks, keep smiling, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.